What if Anakin Skywalker was trained from birth? This is a fun one that I've wanted to do for a bit, and it went down a path that I guess I didn't really see coming, so hope you enjoy. But before we do get into it, folks, 10,000 subscribers. That's truly amazing. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Your help making me be able to do this almost full time, so truly, thank you. It means the world. Enough, right? Let's get to it. And yeah, if you saw the thumbnail, maybe there's some Sith army in here. We'll have to see. Anyways, what if Anakin was trained from birth? Let's get into it right now. It was a normal Tatooine morning for Shmi Skywalker and her son, Anakin. The boy without a father, born miraculously out of nowhere. And this boy was different. Shmi wasn't sure exactly what it was, but he had a certain aura about him. He could barely even talk yet, and animals would sometimes go from chaos to peace within seconds if young Anakin came up to them. People seemed to always turn their heads when passing him, as if Anakin could connect with them. And one day, as Shmi was doing her duties, she turned to see Anakin holding his toys. But he wasn't just holding them in his hand. No, he was levitating them. And Shmi understood the ancient Jedi legends. Anakin is Jedi. Shmi didn't know what to do about it, but a few days later, two robed men were going door to door, asking about a Paladuvan bounty hunter, and when they got to Shmi's door, she urgently invited them inside. The Jedi introduced themselves as Masters Dooku and Jin, and Shmi brought Anakin to them, and right away it was clear that this boy was strong in the Force. After some talk, the Jedi and Shmi decided that Anakin must be taken to the temple. Dooku was uncomfortable taking the boy and leaving his mother to slavery, so they negotiated a deal with the Toydarian Watto in order to free her, and to gift her a top-level home on Coruscant, where she could always know that Anakin was safe, but they could never truly be together. Anakin was brought to the temple and presented before the Jedi Council. Dooku and Qui-Gon had tested his midichlorian count, and it was nearly 30,000, a good 10,000 ahead of even Grand Master Yoda. The Jedi were convinced that this was the Chosen One, brought about to destroy the Sith and bring balance to the Force. Dooku did not believe heavily in the prophecy, or any prophecy really, but he did understand the power that lay within this boy. The only problem with this was that the Sith had been extinct for 1,000 years. The Chosen One appearing now could only mean one thing: the return of the Sith. Yoda looked on gravely as the boy sat calmly in the center. Could this boy, in time, be the savior of the Jedi Order? And at this time, Dooku had been dealing with a situation on his home planet of Serenno. He saw corruption in the Jedi Order. He saw it in the Republic. But after personally finding this young Anakin, he saw a chance for redemption for the Order. He was about to leave the Order to be the Count of Serenno, but instead, he stayed in hopes of getting the opportunity to train this boy when he was ready. And so, Anakin was trained. As a youngling, the Force came quickly to him. By the time he reached 5 years old, everyone knew who Anakin Skywalker was. He was a child prodigy, using the Force at the same level as those double his age. A close eye was kept on him, and the debate as to who his master would be started to grow. At 10 years old, Anakin was strong. With his strength at his age came a rebellious nature. He would often sneak out of the temple to find droid parts and other material to build machines in his room. He was often late for training, thinking that he didn't even really need it, and he would show up other young trainees quite often. The boy was crucial to the Order, but he was also a pain in the butt for everyone. And one day Yoda had sat a couple years prior to all of this. Yoda could see this rebellious nature rising. Anakin needed a master who would let him be himself, while also learning the respect and wisdom of a true Jedi. And Yoda asked Dooku, his own former Padawan, to train Anakin Skywalker when the time came. Yoda thought that this would be good for Anakin, and also for Dooku. At that time, Dooku had common meetings with Senator Palpatine of Naboo. They were growing close, and Palpatine had planned to reveal his sinister plan, but after his conversation with Yoda, Dooku revealed now that he never had more faith in the Jedi than right now. Dooku said he had the chance to train Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, and train the boy to help restore the Jedi Order to its greatest height. For a long while, Palpatine wondered why exactly Dooku was still in the Order, but now he knew. And Palpatine had to give up all hope for Dooku becoming a Sith. The Jedi, this Chosen One, were always going to come ahead of things now. The Jedi had given Dooku hope, and Palpatine, aka Darth Sidious, gave up on Dooku. Instead, with the revelation of this Chosen One, Palpatine decided that perhaps Darth Plagueis should live. Perhaps, until the Jedi and this Chosen One were wiped out, he will follow the plan of Darth Plagueis. So Palpatine contacted his master, telling him it was time to begin forming the Sith Army. Darth Plagueis hated the rule of two, and now, with Palpatine set to become Chancellor soon, he would begin forming the Sith Army, and in time, the Sith would replace the Jedi as rulers of a new empire. In the Jedi Temple, Dooku took the 10-year-old Anakin Skywalker as his Padawan, and on the same day, a new Chancellor was elected. Dooku's old friend, Chancellor Palpatine. Dooku thought to congratulate him soon, but for now he was all in on training his new Padawan. He had previously trained Rael Averross, Qui-Gon Jinn, and now would train Anakin Skywalker. After some time getting to know each other, Dooku concluded Anakin's rebellious nature was hiding what was really inside. And after some prodding, Dooku got Anakin to confess that he was hiding away his fear. Anakin said he was afraid of failing, afraid of not becoming a great Jedi, afraid of not living up to this title of Chosen One being thrown around at him. Dooku then said that Anakin was afraid of himself, of a future not being the one that he wanted. Anakin said that he was right, fearing that Dooku will reject him for not being up to expectations. But Dooku instead said that this was very wise, surprising Anakin. Smiling, he would explain that most Padawans would deny their fear, and even if they admitted it, they would not have Anakin's self-knowledge. He then further praised Anakin for his honesty, insight, and intelligence. They walked around the temple together, Dooku showing Anakin things he never really saw as a youngling, and when they got to the archives, Anakin saw the holocron of prophecies, and Dooku said he didn't fully believe in prophecy. He then told Anakin he would not train him to be the Chosen One, but rather to be just the best possible Jedi that he could be. This was a massive weight off the shoulders of young Anakin. Dooku saw him as a person, and Yoda would watch over the next few months as Dooku trained Anakin. Yoda remembered training Dooku. He was the most gifted Padawan that he ever had, but over time, Dooku had changed. He'd become outspoken, darker, and Yoda smiled to himself as he could see that training Anakin, a boy with his own inner turmoil, was helping Dooku back towards the light. 5 years quickly went by. Dooku and Skywalker were the most powerful master and apprentice duo that the Jedi Order had seen since Yoda and Dooku. They were famous within the temple, and Dooku had given himself completely back to the Jedi, seeing the potential in Anakin. The two of them became great advocates for ridding the Senate of corruption and restoring hope back into the minds of the people of the Republic. Largely because of Dooku and Skywalker, the Jedi began to seem good again to the people. Countless rundown planets were visited, and the duo would handle the Senator's corruption however necessary. Anakin would sometimes note that Dooku tapped into the dark side, and as training progressed, Anakin would experiment with it as well. And he truly was powerful as many Jedi Masters. He had learned to master all 7 of the lightsaber forms, and was even able to beat Dooku in a spar once in a while, all while being just 15 years of age. Dooku noticed this, and he shut it down for the most part, but he did acknowledge that Anakin's feelings were natural, and to feel them is to be human. They were some of the best the Jedi had to offer, and Padawan Skywalker was quite the opposite of former Padawan Kenobi. Sometimes missions would occur with Dooku, Skywalker, Qui-Gon, and Kenobi. The mix of personalities was great for all of them, pushing them all more towards the center, all the while as Dooku helped guide the Jedi back to what they should be, peacekeepers of the people and eradicating corruption. The Chancellor was scheming to destroy them. A Sith army of around 100 members had been built, and a clone army of around 1,000 troopers would be ready in a few years. They could not overly build on the clone army, or else it could be revealed to the Jedi. Instead, they did it discreetly with just 1,000 troopers, and that would be enough to raid the temple soon enough. Since the emergence of the Chosen One in the temple, the Jedi were rising with the help of Dooku. The Sith greatly feared this Chosen One, and had made attempts at taking him out. All failures, as they could not yet reveal themselves. And one day Darth Sidious stood with Plagueis outside the ruins of the Sith temple on Malachor. He looked around and saw Darth Maul, Darth Venomous, and various Jedi that the Sith had turned to the dark side. Pong Krell was among them, along with the Jedi formerly called Xanatos. Many more around them. And many years ago, when Palpatine decided it was time to create the Sith army, the Sith had managed to steal a holocron containing information of all known Force-sensitive children. The information was recorded and the holocron was returned without anyone noticing. Soon, the army would be ready. The Jedi would be wiped out, Palpatine would become Emperor, and any resistance would be met by the wrath of the Sith army. 5 more years later, Anakin Skywalker was now 20 years old, and he was granted Jedi Knighthood. Out of everyone in the Order, it was clear now that he held the most power. He could still often lose sparring duels to Dooku, Yoda, or Windu, but it was because he didn't know how to fully control his power. But he was close. So close. Dooku had turned him into a much more respectable man, as well as a powerful Jedi. Anakin was wise, and he embraced his power as a gift, using it to do good across the galaxy. He was feared by those in the Senate that were corrupt, and the thought of Anakin alone would make senators try to do better. Anakin and Dooku did not like the idea of the Jedi serving the Senate, but changing how the senators acted was the best way to ensure that the people of the Republic were happy. And the people fully supported the Jedi. Anakin Skywalker was a name everyone began to know, even his mother, residing close to the temple, but never in contact, and she was proud. And there was no doubt that if there ever was a chosen one, it was Anakin. Soon, he was given his own Padawan, Ahsoka Tano, who Anakin quickly formed a bond with. Anakin had a hard time training a student of his own, but Ahsoka was perfect for him, and Anakin would often go to his many mentors, Dooku, Qui-Gon, Yoda, even his friend Obi-Wan, who he never really understood, but they had a fun relationship. Anakin had genuine friends, and felt connected to his cause as a Jedi. One day, Anakin, Ahsoka, Dooku, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan were all assigned to an important mission together. The Jedi had received a message from a man wielding a lightsaber in front of civilians. In the message, the man cut down the civilians and told the Jedi that they must come to him now, or this will continue. So Anakin and the group of Jedi went. And while they were out, the Jedi Temple received 4 other messages just like this. Cautiously, the Jedi sent out 5 different groups of Jedi, led by at least 2 masters, to all of these locations. This was a grave day, and many Jedi understood what it meant. The Sith had returned, and not just a master and apprentice, but 5 Sith were here. Yoda and Windu were concerned, and they stayed behind in the temple in case any lingering Sith tried to make their way in. How could they have been deceived and not seen this group of Sith rise? And as they waited in the temple, Chancellor Palpatine walked in through the main doors, face covered by his hood. Yoda and Windu ran up to him to ask what was going on. He pulled down the hood and began to speak in a voice that was barely his own, talking in a speech reminiscent of the great Darth Malgus. Sidious said, "For over 1,000 years we prepared. We grew stronger, all while you rested in your precious temple, believing your actions mattered, that your people were safe. You were trusted to lead the Republic, but now you will be buried beneath my new empire, blinded by the dark side of the Force." Yoda and Windu ignited their lightsabers, but they were thrown back as Sidious used the Force, slamming them into the wall. Their worst nightmare was realized. The Chancellor of the Republic that they served was a Sith Lord. The 2 great masters watched as countless Jedi Knights and Padawans ran forward, and Yoda sensed it before everyone, yelling at them to get back. But it was too late. Missiles slammed into the temple's doors, and a huge transport flew in, taking down the pillars and walls, crushing Jedi as it skidded to a halt. The doors were pushed open, killing more Jedi as they flew across the Great Hall. Then from the other 3 sides of the temple, another ship flew in through the walls in the most populated areas. The archives, the dining center, the resting quarters were bombed and flown through. Instantly, thousands of Jedi were killed. Yoda and Windu saw the hue of 100 red lightsabers ignite. They were wrong about all of it. The 5 Sith were not the problem. They were the distraction. And around 500 troopers wearing black armor poured in. The Sith had created their clone army. And there was no war. There was only this battle. So Yoda sent an emergency distress call to every single Jedi, telling them to return immediately. The 5 Jedi squadrons sent out to find the Sith included some of the most powerful Jedi in the Order. Skywalker, Kenobi, Qui-Gon, Dooku, and Ahsoka were just one group, but the others would contain Kit Fisto, Plo Koon, Shaak Ti, Aayla Secura, and other powerful masters. And at once, they all felt their comlinks beeping urgently. It was Master Yoda. The temple was under attack, and falling quickly. The Jedi groups could feel the darkness, and they all turned to head back to the temple, but they didn't realize that the Sith had planned for this. While 500 of the 1,000 clones were in the temple, the other 500 were spread evenly throughout the 5 groups of the Jedi. As Anakin ran alongside of his fellow Jedi, he felt something, and suddenly the 100 clones emerged from hiding, flying in jetpacks or blasting from afar. Anakin had expertly trained Ahsoka to deflect blaster fire, and the Jedi stood in a circle deflecting for as long as they could. Anakin could see their ship, and he saw a trooper with a rocket launcher heading towards it. Then Anakin heard the scream of Qui-Gon Jinn. He was hit. Bad. Anakin couldn't hold back. He felt himself rise into the air, and a force pulse was sent around him. Every clone was disintegrated, but the one with the rocket was at a safer distance, so he only died immediately instead of being disintegrated. The Jedi around Anakin were shocked, but he did what had to be done. Grabbing Qui-Gon, they took off for the temple, but as they got to their ship, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon recommended that they take a second stop. They have time, they need to stop, and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon had reinforcements on another planet. They had friends that they could bring with. So, Anakin and Dooku agreed, if it meant saving the Order, they would land quickly with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon to get these hopeful reinforcements. On the other 4 groups of Jedi, only one group made it out alive. It was the one carrying Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, and Aayla Secura. The other 3 Jedi groups were wiped out completely. In the temple, the dust settled from the crash. Yoda and Windu understood what must be done. Keep the Order alive until the Jedi reinforcements arrive. So they charged into battle. It was now around maybe 3,000 Jedi alive in the temple versus the 100 Sith and the clones. But the odds were still about even. The Sith were powerful. They lived for this and only this, while the Jedi had experienced minimal combat. The Sith were planning to kill every Jedi here, destroy all hope of a safe haven, then rid the galaxy of them over time. The 500 clones were spread throughout the temple, expertly killing Jedi in groups, while the Sith were having little trouble wiping out any Jedi. By the time 10 Sith and 100 clones were dead, over 1,000 more Jedi had been wiped out. They were completely caught off guard, in large groups meditating or studying. Many of them had very little chance. The Sith were much more powerful than most of the Jedi. But not all of them. Mace Windu and Master Yoda charged into battle, engaging anyone with a red lightsaber and trying to kill them. Next to them, Master Syndrellic was holding his own versus a Zabrak Sith. And Master Kelleran Beck was taking on former Jedi Pong Krell. The temple was in chaos, and with the most powerful Jedi in the center battling the Sith, while thousands of Padawans, younglings, and others nowhere near prepared for a battle like this were wiped out by clones and scattered Sith. As Yoda cut down another Sith and looked around, he had to put away his despair. The temple was in ruins, and it seemed like only 1,000 or so Jedi remained throughout the temple. They needed a miracle, and Yoda battled on for a long while, what seemed like forever, holding his own, doing whatever he could with Windu by his side, the other masters, waiting so patiently for the reinforcements, needing them now. And after a long while, Yoda watched as a blue blade flew through one of the destroyed walls, cutting through 3 Sith, then back to a Jedi flying in the air. Anakin Skywalker landed, observed the scene, and ran into battle. Behind him, 2 Jedi transports landed, and Dooku, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, Kit Fisto, Plo Koon, Ayla Secura, and Ahsoka followed Anakin. Yoda waited, and behind them, a huge group of Mandalorian warriors charged in with jetpacks. They were fighting on the side of the Jedi, the side of the Republic. Over the past few years, the Mandalorian relationship with the Jedi had grown greatly, and now, Satine Kryze, Duchess of Mandalore, had sent warriors to aid with this problem. This was how they would win, Yoda thought, jumping back into battle. The strongest members of the Order fought to destroy the Sith, once and for all. Anakin engaged 3 Sith warriors at once, holding one by the throat while fighting off the other 2. He cut one across the leg, then the face, then stabbed the other while choking out the third. He leapt backwards, aiding Windu in a duel versus a Bith species Sith Lord. Together, the 2 of them managed to take him down. Anakin flew back into battle, instructing some of the Jedi to spread out, help the younglings. The Jedi reinforcements will handle the Sith. Anakin went from Sith to Sith, killing them with relative ease when he came upon Yoda. He was losing to a Mun Sith with a breathing apparatus, and Anakin jumped in to aid him. Anakin could see the fear and failure in the Mun eyes as he fell, dead, to Anakin's saber. The tide had turned, and Darth Sidious knew it. He was battling Dooku and the young Ahsoka when he saw Plagueis, Venomous, Maul, and Pong Krell die. Mandalorians were helping out the Jedi. He had not expected this at all. He was one of the few true Sith Masters left. He stabbed at Dooku and missed, but swiftly turned to Ahsoka, stabbing her in the chest. She was only a Padawan. She could never defeat him. Anakin looked around to see the body of Qui-Gon, then looked just in time to see Ahsoka get stabbed right through the chest. Jedi were falling, and with a lurch of his own feelings, Anakin took off for the Sith Lord. Sidious backed up now, as many Jedi moved on him. He had greatly underestimated the power of the Chosen One. He fully expected him to die to the 100 clones. How had he escaped? How had he recruited the Mandalorians? How had they done this? Sidious looked in the distance as the final red lightsabers in the temple blinked out as the Sith died. He heard the blaster fire cease. The clones had lost, and he was backed up to the wall, face to face with the Chosen One. He snarled angrily, then unleashed a huge force push, sending the remaining 20 Jedi warriors backwards. It even made Anakin have to take a step backwards. As Anakin looked up, he had to block a powerful downward strike, engaging in a lightsaber lock. Sidious released, and the 2 clashed lightsabers before Anakin ducked underneath a swing, then flipped over the top of the Sith Lord. He turned around to see Sidious throw his lightsaber at him. Anakin barely jumped over the top of it, before Sidious pushed him back in the air. Anakin hit the wall, reigniting his lightsaber to block, as Sidious leapt from high in the air. Anakin kicked him, then charged, and their sabers clashed in powerful strikes. Anakin blocked one behind his back, then hit Sidious in the face with his hilt, swiping at his chest and missing. Anakin saw Sidious attempt a spin. Perfect. As Sidious went for a powerful stab out of the spin, he felt the blue lightsaber of Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, pierce his heart. Anakin was simply quicker than him. Sidious fell dead now, looking at the surviving Jedi as they evacuated the crumbling temple. The Sith were dead. Anakin Skywalker had arrived just in time to lead the Jedi in defeating them. The Jedi Order would go on to survive a great many years with a new temple on Tatooine. Grand Master Yoda had recently died of age, and now Grand Master Anakin Skywalker sat among the surviving members on the new council, with Dooku, Plo Koon, Ayla Secura, and Kit Fisto. It was a small council, but it was what the Order needed. He remembered his friend Obi-Wan, and how he had left the Order to be with Duchess Satine. His relationship with Satine had allowed them, the Mandalorians, to aid in the attack, and soon after, Obi-Wan had left to be with her. Anakin was happy for Obi-Wan, and now, Anakin, trained from birth, had altered the path of both the Jedi and the Sith, and in the end, he fulfilled the prophecy of the Chosen One. Folks, that's our story. Thank you so much for 10,000 subscribers. I do hope you enjoyed. Hope this doesn't come out too late. Gonna be a long edit, but still, hope you did enjoy. Appreciate you all so much. I really do. It's crazy to me that I get to do this and people watch my videos, so thank you. Means the world. More than you'll ever know. So, thank you. Have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.